C# has always been evolving to make the language more expressive, robust, and easier to work with. The introduction of aliases any type is the part of this evolution. In earlier versions of C#, type aliases were limited to specific scenarios. For an instance, you could use using directive to create an alias for a type, but it was primarily for simplifying long type names. You could not alias a generic type or introduce more sophisticated aliases that could abstract over multiple types or generic parameters. The alias any type feature in C#12 allows you to create type aliases that are much more powerful and flexible than in previous versions. This improves overall code readability, maintainability, and flexibility. In this episode, I am going to talk about the details on alias any types. I will be comparing the old way to aliasing and the new alias any type feature of C#12. I will cover what all types that can be covered under aliases, and we can alias to those types. And finally, why do we need aliasing? There are a couple of regions or multiple regions that I'll be talking about. So let's go. I am in Visual Studio 2022 and opened a console application for you in order to make you understand the concept of alias any type. So this is a console application, and you notice here is there is no using statement, there is no namespace mentioned here. This is why, because if you go to the project property, double click the project property, and then you see that there one thing is called implicit usings is enabled. So if it is enabled, then even if you are not specifying usings here, namespaces here, your program runs successfully. So see this, I am entering a number 5 and this number gets displayed here. Make sense? Okay. So now what I'm trying to do is I don't want to keep that usings implicit, and that's where I'm going there and I'm making this false. I made this false, I'm saving this project property file, and then I'm trying to run this program again. And you see that console does not exist, and then all sort of errors started coming. So what happens, I am just going to use this using property. You see that using systems, and the moment I open this, everything goes away, and it appears that the program will run successfully, and hence the program runs successfully. I'm entering 56 and the answer gets displayed as 56. Make sense? So then what is the problem here? The problem here is, as many times as you will go to write these console statements, either write line or read line, you have to write this full stop. So what was happening earlier, even before C#12, you could actually write the alias to namespaces. So what I'll do, I will simply write using m, and I'll write m equals, or not using m, and then equals system. And let's say system.console even I can write. But so what I'm trying to do is I'm going to create an alias named m for this whole thing. So wherever I am going to write system.console, I can replace that by m. Perfect. So makes sense. So when I replace this, everything should work for me. So when I'm going to run this program, program runs, I am entering 99 and 99 gets displayed. Make sense? You are there with me? Perfect. So this is a basic concept that I wanted to explain you. Now I'm creating a tuple called temp tuple, which has first name and last name, and then I'm filling this temp tuple value to this, and then I'm going to display. It should work for me. So you see the first name is old way first name, last name is old way last name. Make sense? So what is the problem here? The problem here is there is a some sort of limitation, like, if you have created this tuple and if you want really to send this tuple to any method and you want to do manipulations, you want to return this, then you have to write a whole lot of things. So there is some sort of less readability in that case, and maintainability as well, because you have to repeat these stuffs, right? So what you can do is that I am going to open another stuff for you. So let's see what happens. We'll create an alias for this whole thing. So let me open this alias for you. So using %tuple, that is what my alias is. and I have already created the string first name and what happens. So, but a person, I can instead, I'll be using this whole thing and create a variable out of your tuple variable. I will simply create a person tuple p, and then p dot first name is code, p dot last name is with Abby, and this way I can access the values and I can assign the values to this tuple. Not only this tuple is, I can send value to this tuple, I can return this person tuple anytime, I can do manipulations on that, and this is more readable. So if I say person tuple, at one place it is much more readable to me. So running this, I can see that my program runs pretty well, that altered name and altered last name, which I have already displayed here, and this makes sense to you. Okay. So the first and foremost thing is we have seen that we can create aliases to the tuples. So before I go and discuss with you the places or the types on which we can apply the aliases, let me first of all walk you through why do we need this feature. So once we do the aliasing, then what happens, the code readability gets increased. So when the code base grows and the complexity increases, and what happens if there are lot many number of lines of codes, then you actually have readability issues. Once you start doing aliasing, so you will have improved readability. You have improved maintainability as well. If you using times, combination of types and other stuffs, so your code will be more maintainable if you are using aliasing. And reusability is more reusable code. I mean, you have written a bigger set of syntax, and for that you have created a small alias and you can use it again and again. So reusability is there. Last is the complex scenarios. In complex applications, particularly those dependency injections, generics, patterns, factory patterns, or stuff like those, aliases are found to be very useful. So these are a couple of places, and these are a couple of points which talks that the aliases could be important for us. Now, what can be aliased? We have simple types. We can alias that. We can complex type. We can alias the complex type. We can alias generics types. We can write aliases for arrays types. We can write aliases for delegate type, nullable types, and interfaces, tuples, custom types, pointers, union types, and other special types. So we have seen the list of all 12 different types wherein we can write aliases for. So I will try to cover most of them today, so that at the end of this discussion you would be able to use this great feature of C# 12 in your applications at various places for aliasing various types. So let me take you to Visual Studio again. So I am back in Visual Studio, and you can see that I have written some sort of code blocks for you, wherein I will try to touch upon all these stuffs. The first thing is that using simple types, how to alias a simple type, alias of complex type. You can have a generic types of aliasing. You can write alias for generic types. You can write alias for arrays. You can write alias for delegate types, nullable types, interfaces, user-defined types, and pointer types, and other special types. So I will cover each one of them very quickly. So first of all, that I'm going to talk to you about the alias of simple type. So you can actually write aliases like this. So if you have, say, let's say my integer, so you can create a simple type and come here and you can write using my integer equal to int. So this is one alias, and using text equal let's say string. So you have created two aliases, one text, and so this text is bigger T, so using text equal to string. So now you see that it's for simple type integer I have created my integer is a type of alias, and for string type I have created alias called text. I can run the program and can see these things happening. 5000 CodeWithAbby. So this way you can write aliases for simple type. Make sense? Hope this is clear. Going to the next section is aliasing complex type. So in this complex type, what happens? You can actually create any, like you have a point class. It's a complex class. So you can create alias this my point, and then you can perform all the activity on point class. You have some enumeration in your own code, like color modes enumerated, and then you can create a color mode alias for this. Instead of writing the whole stuff, you can write color mode and then you can use this. So I have not actually written any line for this because this is self-understood. So this is a complex aliasing. Type about generic aliasing. So you can actually write generic aliases. So for example, I am using something called list of string. So list of string is a generic alias. The alias I have written for generic, so I'm bringing this here. So list of string is system.collection.generic. Instead of writing this whole thing, this is a readable, more readable list of string alias name which I can use. And you remember that I have already created alias for console.writeLine, so that is m, so m.writeLine. So you see that how useful it is. So I'm going to run this, and you see that first string, second string, all the string getting populated. Make sense? So this way you can create aliases for generic types. Alias is array types. In this, let me create an array. So let's say let's create a matrix called 2 into 2 matrix. So then if there is an alias for matrix is 2 into 2. So I am going to create the, instead of writing the whole matrix, I have created using matrix 2 into 2. So now, and there is another stuff is cities. So I have also created an array of strings, name of cities. So that alias also I have created, name of cities, right? So m, okay. So now you see that instead you create this whole array here, you simply can use this matrix 2 into 2, and this can be created. This alias is going to be useful there. And likewise, name of the cities, you are creating name of the cities instead of declaring the whole string array here. Simply the name and the cities, and this you fill with all these city details. Let's run this application. This application runs here, 14 New Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru. Right? So this is about array types aliasing. Next is that we have delegates. So we have, let's say, delegates. So we can also create aliases for this. Alias is nullable type. So you have some nullable statement, let's say nullable int you can create and you can use that way. So you can see in this code all here. Likewise, you can create aliases for interfaces. So if you have interface of your application or other interfaces, you can create aliases and you can use them. Aliases for custom or user defined types. So basically what happens if you have a library. So suppose I have created a calculation library. So if this library is being used here, so in this application, so what happens, actually you need to create the object of this class. So you have to write the full thing, like, you have to write like this, calculation lib, and then you have to write the whole thing like c equals new calculation lib, and then you can call this method, right? So always you have to write this whole thing. Instead, what you can do is you can create an alias for this. So I can go here anytime and I can create the alias. The alias has been created. Now I can execute. See how it is, calc. So I've created a calc for equivalent to this one. So calc equal to new calc, and this works for you, right? 1100. Makes sense. The next is aliasing pointer type. So what happens? This is little rare because you not mostly use pointers in C#. So for that I have created a class called pointer unsafe. They are considered to be unsafe, so this is unsafe pointer class. And what I'm trying to do, I'm going to use this pointer method. Okay, but it's pretty simple. In this method, what is being done is I have created a pointer. So this way in C# you should create, you have to mention this hint unsafe. So you have to write unsafe, and this is a pointer. So what instead of writing int star int pointer, I have simply created an alias for this, and I am using this pointer alias here. Make sense? One more thing that you have to enable, which I want to discuss with you, that whenever you want to do a pointer program in C#, you have to add one more thing, is that allow unsafe blocks true, right? Until you do this, you won't be able to perform that pointer related program. All right, so let me run the program, and program runs, and this displays all these values of this element. So this way you can create alias of pointers. And last but not least is other special type. You can, let's say you have a dynamic types. So you have a nullable reference types using dynamic objects. So for that dynamic, you can create dynamic objects, and in this way you can write the other types. So I hope the list of types that I have discussed, and I have attempted to demonstrate you the examples as well by creating the aliases for those types is pretty much clear to you. Share your feedback with me, and if you have any query, any question, let me know what you think about this, and I will address if you have any question or comments. So write me over my email or comment me. See you in the next video. Bye bye.